Every time we return to the Nürburgring, it feels less like a trip and more like a ritual. The roads, the faces, the noise, all of it somehow familiar, yet never the same. This time, it's just Russ and myself in the G87 M2. 2 days of DN track action ahead of us, but before we go fast, let's take a moment to remember why this is the place to do it. First up, a track walk around the Nordschleife, but for us, it's a quiet drive. The circuit's closed, the forest is still, and the tour bus leads the way. And once again, our friends from Starnaglos join us, the F87 now wearing a fresh 811 Designs livery, because no trip to the ring is complete without your mates alongside you. Between the laps, we'll step behind the scenes to explore the science that makes cars fast around this circuit, at Bilstein's suspension development facility right here at the ring. They've opened the doors to their 7-post test rig, a piece of engineering used to perfect the fastest cars on Earth. Watching how much precision goes into every millimetre of movement, it makes you appreciate just how much is happening beneath the surface when you're driving flat out here. But beyond the data and the lap times, there's something more important. This place isn't just for us, it's home for thousands who live around it. And as much as we love the sound of engines, it's worth remembering that for them, it never really stops. So before the next trip, the next story, let's all try and respect the region, keep the fast driving on the track, and keep this place special for everyone who calls it home. With the workshop locked, tools packed, and before we knew it, we were at the tunnel, heading back to the Nürburgring. This time joined by Sam in his frozen grey M4 GTS, and Simon in his white F82 M4. First stop after the train, Belgium, of course. A quick refuel, a coffee, and then a few hours of motorway before we reach the Autobahn. Just a few minutes from the Nürburgring, we stop at Arel for a final refuel, then it's straight over to DN for sign-off. But before the track walk, we meet up with the Starnaglos boys to give both parade cars, the G87 and F87, a proper clean. Both cars now ready for the cruise around the Nordschleife, we head back over to the boulevard to meet up with the tour bus. The Nordschleife is closed, silent, and almost still. We follow the tour bus at 50, maybe 60 miles an hour, just enough to feel the flow of the corners. It's strange seeing it like this. No noise, no rush, just the track and the trees. Filming cars on the Nürburgring at sunset was one of those bucket list moments. The track was completely ours, something I've dreamt of for years. It's easy to forget how special that is when this place is usually chaos. But here at this speed, at this time of day, it's perfect. This trip was later in the year than the last one, so the sun disappeared much faster than I expected. 1 minute perfect golden light, and the next it was gone behind the trees. Short-lived, but unforgettable. But today is finally the day of the track day. 2 days of DN ahead of us, and the ring awaits us beyond the trees. The car park's already buzzing, with YouTubers, rare cars, and everyone getting ready for another day on the ring. The weather couldn't be better. Sam's already been out for a warm-up lap in the GTS, and now it's Russ's turn in the M2. There's a few new additions on the G87 since our last trip. We're now running black Protrack wheels. There's been a few chassis tweaks and the car now sits noticeably lower. And that huge OEM steering wheel everyone loves to hate, including Joe Achilles, is finally gone. In its place is an OMP steering wheel with a Zestek Can Hub to replace the OEM buttons. It's tighter, sharper, and it feels closer to what the car should really be. But I'll leave you guys with some snippets of Russ's first couple of warm-up laps. The first day of DM and all was well on track. Sam even made a GTS friend. Just beyond the Nürburgring's main straight, right next to Mantai, Bilstein's engineers are working where speed meets science, inside their state-of-the-art 7-post test rig. From outside, it's unassuming. Inside, 300 bar of hydraulic pressure drives 7 precision actuators. 4 simulate each wheel, 3 reproduce the aerodynamic downforce acting through the chassis. Together, they can replicate any road condition or racetrack, every crest, every compression, every millimetre of motion, without the car even turning a single wheel. But I'll leave the guy in charge of this amazing rig to explain a little bit more about it.
For wheel actuators, they can simulate the road. We have some road profiles, some racetrack profiles. We do synthetic profiles, like to measure some properties on the car that you cannot test on the real track, for example. And then we have 3 additional aero loaders in the middle. So it's really rigid and heavy because we want to decouple everything from the building, for example. The test rig in the building, it is a separate system. So here is this metal sheet, and between this is just air. Because we don't want, if the building is shaking, we don't want it in the 7-post measurement system and vice versa.
How much do you think the investment was for this?
Oh no, it's come on. No, it's about millions.
Millions.
And it's not just the rig itself. It is
the floor.
You need to build a building around the 7-post. That is what it makes it expensive. 2 hydraulic pumps, and they provide hydraulic pressure.
How many of these setups are in the world?
In the world, we don't know. Most of them are in United States. Because of IndyCar and NASCAR, they use it a lot. In Germany, there are 5. In England, there are some. Most of all the Formula 1 teams, they have one. But sometimes on the rear, we need to go, let's say, here, through these brackets. So we need to open it. And we still need to be able to push the car on the rig, so we have a big gap, but with the crane we can lift the car and pull it over.
Lift the car?
Yeah. Like, you need to think about 7-post is a race car, so it's a light LMP car, for example. You can just lift it.
And they have lift points on, don't they?
Yeah. If they have a crash or something, they need to be lifted as well to the truck.
Big shout out to the guys down at Bilstein. It's not every day that you get to see behind the scenes of something like that. The next morning, we stopped by Milltek, who kindly let us use one of their ramps to make a few suspension tweaks. The M2 was sitting a little bit too low for the spring rates we were running, and the diff kept on bottoming out through the compression at Tiergarten, right at the end of Dottinger Ho. It's not a problem during Touristenfahrten, since you start from the cones at Devil's Diner, but on a track day, you're flat out down the whole straight and carrying a lot more speed into that section. Back in the TF car park though, the Starnagloss F87 looked after by ourselves was running faultlessly. After raising the car a few millimeters, we headed back out to test the setup through the compression, and thankfully no more bottoming out. The fix worked perfectly. But while the car's sorted, Russ and Dan from Wheelstand Racing have been plotting. Over a few beers last night, with a bit of encouragement from Darren, the track day organiser, they've cooked up a challenge. It's very Japanese toge style, so I hope you're ready for this. It's Dan in his E46 M3 versus Russ in the G87 M2. Obviously this isn't the fairest of races, so Dan's been given a 25-second head start. And finally, Russ sets off on his hunt for Dan's M3. But by the time Dan's made it to T13, Russ is already at the first braking point. Getting to the top of Flugplatz, Dan's still nowhere to be seen. But he isn't that far ahead, just making it to the crest at Swedenkreuz, and now with a bit of traffic to navigate. The fast sections like this one is probably where the M2 is going to gain most of its advantage. Dan gets through the traffic with not much hindrance to his speed. Coming out of the foxhole compression though, Russ has finally caught sight of the car that Dan's just overtaken. The much more powerful M2 overtakes it with ease though, but back with Dan as he gets into the braking zone for Verseifen, Russ has caught sight of him. But back with Dan, it's not looking good, because the next section is Kesselchen, a long uphill part of the track and a prime spot for the M2 to overtake. And coming into Bergwerk just before Kesselchen, Russ can basically smell Dan's exhaust fumes. And coming out of the corner, he deploys all 650 horsepower and overtakes Dan with ease. A bit of traffic at the end, but he keeps his foot in. Now it's just him against the clock. And Russ crosses the gantry with a blistering lap time of 7 minutes 25. Dan, not very far behind, completes his lap in a still respectable 7:56.
I did pop in a 725.
Got a 725?
Yeah.
I couldn't have driven that any harder.
You must have done a good one.
I don't know. I didn't time it.
But I can't believe I caught you so quick.
I know. I was like, shit, that's him. I had to get to the carousel and I was like, that's it.
We wrapped up the trip at Track Speed, one of the local rental companies here at the Ring. After catching up with the team and talking to them about their setup on their G87, we took the car out for a slow drive around the surrounding roads. It's easy to forget, away from the noise and the track, just how peaceful this place really is. But the peace is being tested. Over the past few months, there have been more and more crashes on public roads around the Nürburgring. cars losing control through the villages, overtakes gone wrong, and people pushing way too hard where it doesn't belong. It's frustrating for locals, and it puts the freedom we all enjoy here at risk. The track is built for speed. It has rules, marshals, and safety systems. The public roads don't. And the more that line gets blurred, the harder it becomes to defend the community that makes all this possible. So when you're here, remember, drive hard on track. Drive home with respect. Because this region isn't just a backdrop for the world's greatest circuit. It's a community that's lived alongside it for nearly a century. And I think it deserves the same respect we give the track itself.